So much yarn, so little time.
Big spin that yarn.
Quite the ripping yarn.
Shall we start with the yarn?
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Today I sat down and chatted with Joel Yukich. I'm not sure I don't know how to pronounce it. Sorry, bro, if I butchered your last name. The bro Joel he lives on the Chatham Islands for one, so his internet's pretty average. I think they only have like mobile phone internet over there, so it's pretty slow. But we did what we could. There might be a few delays and stuff in there, but we got through it and had a real cool chat. Joel's got a platform called Blokes Can Cook Too. He does Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, where he does a bunch of hunting, gathering, and like he says in the podcast, he hasn't brought meat or anything for 12 or 13 years. So he's living that life, you know, and cooks a bunch of really cool recipes and lots of sort of hunter-gatherer style recipes, which I really like. And his content's just super authentic, and him, you know, that's what I really like it. So, yeah, good chat with Joel. Really enjoyed it. Shout out to the bro Josh, whose Instagram is United Pitmasters. He does a bunch of meat smoking stuff as well. He linked us up, and I've really been enjoying Joel's content. So, yeah, jump in, listen to the episode. We talked about all sorts of stuff, hunting, fishing, life, you know, teenagehood, all the juicy things. It was a really cool chat. And, I've been really enjoying Joel's content. So look him up and, enjoy this episode. We'll see you in the next one. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. We're on.
You're live now.
Oh, thanks for jumping on, bro. I appreciate it. It's a bit, one thing I've learned about podcasts is it's hard to track some people down, like with schedules and stuff, as we've found out, obviously, but we're here now.
Yeah, well, I just have massive short-term memory issues for some unknown reason, and I can completely lose myself in a moment, I think, as well as potentially some undiagnosed ADHD. So I lose myself in a moment and forget about every other commitment I have in life and just carry on with that. And then sometime later in the day or night, I'll be like, that's right, I was supposed to be doing that other thing.
Yeah, bro. Laser focus, eh? I get the same thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even, so firstly, I mean, obviously we can get into like your story and that and sort of where you're at, but how long have you been over on the Chathams? I didn't even know you lived over there.
Oh, so I came here on holiday this time last year and just, I'd already heard a lot about the place and, you know, everyone's seen all the videos and all the rest. And so I come over and just fell in love with the place. And I went to high school. Well, got sent to boarding school in Masterton, was where I met a fella that was raised on Pitt Island, and his stories from way back then when we were sort of 16, and I was just fascinated about the island, you know. So I come here on holiday, actually a sponsored holiday, pretty much, from sort of connections through the page, and just hung out for a month and met heaps of cool people and thought, you know, learned a lot about, like in a short space of time, about the money that is available here if you're willing to work for it in the crayfish industry and stuff like that. Like, and just thought I could live here, you know, and I really could. And I went back, and the missus and I were planning to leave Taranaki either way to go to the far north, and I was just like, oh, why don't we go over there for a few years and see how it goes, sort of thing. And then we had the struggle here is there's more people than there is houses, you know, and so we spent a little bit of time finding houses, like almost got one, missed it, and then I ended up with this house here that I'm in. So I managed to get it on a bit of a Chatham Island deal with all of that lives here, because I'm actually a trade qualified carpenter as well. So I sort of do a bit of, and he's got jobs on, you know, lots of materials sitting around to do jobs with no body to do them, sort of thing. So we've
No
worked out a bit of
carpenters
a
on the
deal.
island.
And what was that? Sorry.
I just said, and no carpenters on the island. Or not enough.
Oh nah. Oh, there is a couple, but they're just jobs on. They're too busy to come and do a little job out all the way out here, sort of thing. Yeah. And so I do that, and I work on a crayfishing, and I got a job on a crayfishing boat. So since the July, I moved here officially in July last year, and started working on the boat, and the family should be fully in here within the next sort of 6 weeks. They've been coming and going with work around school and medical stuff, my young fella and all that sort of stuff. So
you're committed to it.
Get them back in. Yeah, well, I'm really enjoying it. I really like it. It's quite it got everything I could want except for deer.
That was one of the questions I
And
was going to ask. Is there deer on the island?
No, there's not. But I really think that fellow or whitetail would do really, really, really well here. But that's a very so there's like kiwis and wekas. Like obviously there's lots of wekas here, and we can eat them as many as we like, whenever we like, sort of thing.
Really?
It's because they're introduced here. They're an introduced pest. They're not a native to the Chatham Islands, so we can smash them, and they're actually delicious. Like,
I was going to say, what do they
amazing.
taste?
Fuck, they are just a little bit off track, but we better dive into it quickly. They are the closest things I can compare them to is like they're a cross between wild pork, the red leg meat on a turkey, and then they're fat like a mutton bird, but there's zero fishiness to the fat. It's just but that really silky bird fat, like it's, and the skin's thick like pork, so you can like crackle the skin after you boil them and stuff like that. They're pretty epic, really. To be fair, I mean, if I wasn't such a law-abiding citizen and I lived in the South Island, they'd probably go on the menu if I ever moved to the South Island, sort of thing, They're that good.
Interesting. So if you want to eat Weka, you got to go to the Chathams.
Yeah, and you can get a permit to take them home. Like we can bring 6 out at a time. You have to let Doc know those. So like if, let's say you are announcing that you're cooking Weka and you're in New Zealand, they don't bother coming to knock on your door and you're like, hey, where'd you get those Wekas from?
Trippy. Yeah, I never knew that. I knew they were over there. I just didn't know you could eat them. That's a trip.
Yeah. It's like everyone here's got like a Weka dog in amongst us. So they'll have like a pig dog, they're pig dogs, they're working dogs, and then a Weka dog. And the Weka dog's normally like their pet, that hangs around the house or whatever.
Yeah.
And they it's actually quite fun. I've done a full YouTube episode on Weka hunting in the Chatham Islands on my YouTube channel, and I went out with my mate, the one that I went to high school with, and he's got a golden lab that does it, and the old dog just does everything. You just cruise around on the old quad, or you could walk, I suppose, if you didn't have a quad, and the dog just runs the Weka down, gently grabs it, like really gently, and brings it back to you, and then you sort of do the business and carry on. And so they got like a naturally soft mouth dog, but if your dog's too hard mouth, because I said, oh, what about having a hard mouth dog? And my mate's like, oh, that's easy. You just stuff a sock full of gorse and Weka feathers and make them find the sock and bring it back to you, and they'll soon stop biting down on it. They just gently pick it up and bring it back to you. Yeah.
So there's pigs over there.
Oh, heaps. Yeah, lots of pigs. Really, really good eating pigs at the moment too. Pardon me.
Still, that's all good though. Pigs and obviously an abundance of seafood.
Wild cattle.
Oh yeah.
And wild sheep. What else have you got to eat here? Yeah, so you got Wekas, You could eat the swans if you wanted. No one really cares about them. You got and then pigs, wild cattle. That's sort of about it. There's no rabbits. There's hedgehogs and possums, but no rabbits, no magpies. It's quite different.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's I didn't realise until I come here on holiday just how far away it is from the mainland of New Zealand. 800 k's.
I didn't even know when you were messaging me and you were like NZ time. I'm like, what are you on about? Like, where do you live? And then you said over there, and I literally looked on the map. Obviously, I've heard of the Chatham Islands, but I didn't realise. Looking on the map, and I'm like, oh shit, it is far away. Trippy. What did you say it was? 800k.
Yeah, 800 k's off Napier, I think, is the closest point to it.
Oh, yeah. That's trippy. I want to go there and check it out.
It's honestly, it's pretty epic. I've never even been to the South Island, Oh, sorry, I've been there once, but we did 72-hour weeks in Greymouth for 2 weeks in a row, then flew home. So I didn't really get the South Island experience, if you will.
What were you doing there for work?
So I was working for this. I had this boss this is way back when I was, well, it would have been 19, 20 odd. Oh, no, it must have been like 21, 22. And we'd come down to, like, one of my boss was into like barter card, like trading barter. And he had like sussed out some deal that was part cash, part barter for us to come all the way down there and build these little, I don't know if you know Greymouth very well, but there's like, if you leave the township heading south, about 5 k's out of the town sort of thing, if that, there was like this little, like a gated community, but it was, there was no gates. There was no gates, and it was all bush, and there was just these little houses all planted in bush, and they're quite nice little houses, but one of the covenants was you're not allowed to see any neighbours, so the whole purpose of it was like, your own little bush retreat, but it actually was only all little, probably half acre, if that, would have been the size of all the sections.
Yeah.
So we went down there and smashed out a couple of weeks worth of work. Like, they were all poly panel houses, so like we pretty much built a whole house in 2 weeks and rolled out. It was it was great. Actually, my my mate that went there with me, he's since passed, but we were working together at the time. Lots of good memories there. We being young fellas, drug testing wasn't a big thing back sort of 12 years ago in the building industry. It's still not really even in the building industry, to be fair, only in the big construction. But we ran out of hooter, and we were starting to stress out, as you do when you're 22 years old and in that position in life where you just don't really have a lot, or you're just an apprentice sort of thing. And we were going, the ITM delivery driver, surely he takes drugs. Like, here's this big bearded, like, he had a big grey beard, big beer belly, and the old bikey tats, like the old real faded ones, the old Harley Davidson and stuff like that. And we're like, fuck yeah, that can't, even if he doesn't smoke hooter, he knows where to get some. And we're like, right, tomorrow one of us has to ask him. And it was like, because he was coming every day, we were smashing through that much materials, and we would have had to do it without the foreman. And he turned up, and we just looked at each other and bung the old paper, scissors, rock, and I lost it. I was like, righto, how are we going to play this? And I jumped in the truck right at the end, because we had to do two deliveries to 2 sites. And I was like, I'll jump in with you to the other one, save me walking around. Jumped in there. Oh, bro, don't suppose you know where to get some, like, thinking back on it now, it must have been quite an interesting thing just to have laid on you, as an ITM driver. Like, you got to weigh up whether, like, is this young fella gonna leave me in trouble, or like, does he really just want to, get some ganja? And he looked and did the old look left, look right. Like, oh, here's my number. Give me a message after work. And he sure enough turned up on a big Harley and fucking picked him from me and the road, picked him stereotyped him in to a fucking T. It just was the exact person we thought it was. Yeah. And he pulled through for the boys. Pulled through for the boys. Made work that much more tolerable for the the remainder of our stay.
It's never far away on the West Coast, is it?
But other than that, nah. Just that's all we did was work. Went down to the beach. The place is a bit of a shithole. To be fair, I bet there's really nice things to do outside of the township, but I wouldn't say it's a beautiful town or it's an interesting place to be. I bet if I cracked onto the right people there, I'd have a field day shooting shit, I reckon.
Yeah.
It looks like that sort of place that would just be teeming with stuff to kill.
Yeah. The West Coast is paradise, bro, for a hunter and a fisherman. Places like Greymouth and Westport aren't really worth stopping in for long, in my opinion. Places like Hokitika, that's a cool little town. And again, like you said, there's plenty of great people along there. I'm not ragging on anybody, but the West Coast in general is a pretty amazing place if you're into hunting or fishing. You can deal with the sandflies and the rain.
Yeah, I find it's just like I'm a different type of tourist. I've been here now a year, and there's these things here called the basalt columns, and it's fucking basically, excuse my language, pancake shaped rocks.
Can swear all you want.
Pancake shaped rocks, and they all stack on each other into these fucking columns.
Mm-hmm.
And so here in Scotland, like some spot in Scotland, is like the only two places in the fucking world where you can see these rocks that are stacked like this. Pardon me, and a few people have been to me, I've been to the basalt columns, and I'm like, nah. And they're like, oh, why not? I'm like, well, fuck, I've seen plenty of rocks in my time, of all types. So I'm not that interested in walking. It's like 1.5 kilometers walk, and it's just to look at a stack of rocks, I've been in the construction industry for 17 odd years. I've seen plenty of piles of rocks. Plenty of them. I think it'll be cool. One day I'll probably get down there, but the point I was trying to circle back to there is that I'm a different type of tourist. I'm not interested in what the township looks like normally, or it's all about the what's hiding in the scrub, or what different things can we get out of the open? Like the blue moki here has been real good, I reckon.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you about being a crayfisherman. You'd explain some of the abundance of seafood that you was cooking and stuff. Sure, you guys don't hesitate to chuck a line over the side or go for a dive or something while you're working.
No, so crayfishing is actually the hardest I've ever worked in my life. Way harder than building, way harder than dairy farming. You get to work in the works, like it's jobs on sort of thing, and it's been really good for me physically. I need to lose a bit more weight, obviously, but I'm losing some, and definitely getting way stronger, because basically I live on the northeasternmost tip of the island in a little village called Tokoroa, and I fish like our cray pots. Me and my skipper that I work for, we fish down at Pitt Island. So I'm going from the northernmost tip all the way down there. I normally leave home about 4 in the morning, get to his about 5. We're on the boat in Owinga just after 5. Sometimes this is all set back by 1 hour or 2 hours, depending on tides and stuff. And then an hour across the straits, and then as soon as I throw that grapnel the first time, it's job's on pretty much for about 6 hours straight. Just throw grapnel, pull float, bring pot in, process all the crayfish, put the bait in, send it. While we're steaming between pots, I'm sorting through, all throwing out the rejects and measuring, and then we're normally I haven't even got all that done, and I'm through grapnel again, and we're back into it. So it's as far as leisure goes, nah, not when it's crayfishing time, and my boss has got young children just like I do, and he wants to be home for them to get home from school. So, we could, but we don't, sort of thing. And to be perfectly honest with you, as confident and competent as I am as a freediver and stuff like that, and a diver, haven't spent a lot of time around sharks in my time. And there's lots of them here. I do quite a lot of diving off the shore, but I don't go very far from the shore. We actually lost a commercial diver earlier this year. We lost a commercial diver here this year. Just last year, sorry. A young fella called Jade.
I saw that.
Rest in peace. And it's just really put it all into perspective. And but yeah, I don't. It's one thing that you're spoiled by abundance here, bro. Like when I lived in Taranaki, if the sea went clean and when the sea went flat, I was diving. I was skipping work. I was dropping commitments. Everything lost all importance relative to diving, and I would go diving, and you'd work, and it was rewarding, and you'd get a feed, and honestly, bro, you go here, and I could get 10 powers in my gumboots, and and I'm choosing out of 300 powers, just shuffling around trying to find the biggest 10. So it really takes away that drive to dive. I do still dive probably once a fortnight because I really find it helps balance me out, sort of thing, like let me ride. But
I've only heard that, like you say, the abundance over there. I've only heard that, that basically about the Chathams, that there's no shortage of seafood. I grew up in the far north, which is pretty abundant in certain spots in that sense. And
whereabouts in the far north?
A place called the Hokianga. It's on the west coast.
Yeah, I know where the Hokianga is.
Yeah, I left there when I was 10, I think. 10? Yeah, because I started intermediate down in Whangarei. But up there, the fishing and stuff, and the sea life in general is quite abundant compared to other places. And then years later, like when I was living over in Oz, you'd go out fishing, bro, and on these boats way out wide, and they'd catch these little pissy little snapper, and they'd be absolutely frothing on it, going off. And they're like, fuck, we used to take a little tinny out with a little 6-horse on it and catch these monsters. It's just a different, like you say, it's just whatever you're used to, I suppose, in that sense.
Well, these guys here, I must say, the Chatham Islands fishermen, in a recreational sense, are some of the worst fishermen I've ever met, because they're just spoilt by abundance, bro.
Too easy.
Like most of them don't even know how to play a fish. And I'm not trying to run down the people of the Chatham Islands, but you'll put them on a reel and they're just winding. They're not, they're not taking notice of whether the lines, whether the thing's taking line, whether sometimes you watch them winding, the old spool's just sitting still, and it's like, oh fuck, let the fish run, and then maybe pump and wind. But you sort of feel like a clown telling an adult to pump and wind, like it's something. We always holidayed in the far north because we're from there too, or the old man's family, the Dalmatian side of us, are all from up there. Bit further north than you were. We were east coast, Doubtless Bay, Wharefifi.
It's a good spot.
Where we were. Oh, paradise up there. Absolute paradise. That's where I'll be eventually. Been sidetracked by this Chatham Islands mission, but the long-term goal for me, where I'll inevitably end up, will be the far north.
Hey, life runs in seasons, bro. I'm all for that. you know, like you say. Have long-term goals. You just got to go through a few different seasons to get there, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man.
So where did you grow up?
A little place in the Waikato called Tokoroa or
Oh, yeah.
Tokoroa.
Yeah, I know Tokoroa. What did we used to go there for? I used to go there when I was a kid. What did they used to have on there? Is it some sort of bike
You've
racing?
been into motorbikes? Yeah, we got a supercross track.
Yeah, that would have been yeah. Old man took me to watch the Supercross there a few times.
Yeah, I mean, we potentially could have been. How old are you? If you don't mind me asking, we probably there at the same time.
I'll be 37 on Monday.
Oh yeah, 3 years older than me. I know, the old 2 and a bit. But yeah, I mean, we were in Supercross. Tokoroa had lots of opportunities, and it's actually produced quite a lot of like heavy talent in a lot of different sort of arenas. Right through from this social media game that's going on now to, I mean, we've got everything. Like, we've got a guy, do you know Taylor James? Do you follow drifting at all?
No, I used to when I was a young fella. I was right into it.
Oh yeah, we've got a guy at the moment that's competing at top level, just one of the boys with multiple All Blacks, multiple league players. Oh, it's quite a cool little town. It was once upon a time the biggest town in New Zealand. It was almost a city, but these days it's sort of gone to the pack. The place has been ruined by industrialization and pretty much mess. And it's a central distribution point. You know, you're in the North Island, you're an hour to the east coast, an hour to the west coast, 6 hours to the top of the island, 6 hours to the bottom of the island. Within 1 hour, you've got Hamilton, Taupo, Rotorua, Tauranga. So it's always, my whole life and a long time before I was born, Tokoroa has been a heavily contested place for the heavies to set up, you know. So with the loss of modernization of the mill and the forestry industry and all that sort of stuff, the town's just slowly going backwards, unfortunately. I hate to say it about my hometown, but I don't spend a lot of time there these days. I only go there to see my parents, still sort of live there. Yeah, the rest of us.
It's always sad when towns have like a main industry that they were built on, and then the industry goes away and they just turn to shit. It's pretty sad, but it happens.
Yeah. That's what it is. I'm glad I got out when I did, to be fair.
Yeah. I think it's been a bit of time around there when I was a kid. I can't really remember, but definitely remember it was all to do with motorbikes. My old man was a hard out biker, so we would always go down. And where's the other one? What's the other one they used to have? There was a street racing. Was it at Pairua maybe? Somewhere down there. I don't know. Can't remember. Pairua? Trying to remember now. It's like a big street racing event. It wasn't at Tokoroa was always Supercross. But yeah,
total Supercross track as well. We used to go down there, but a couple of my mates used to be hard out into the old dirt bikes, but they've always scared the shit out of me, eh? So I'm quite comfortable. Like balls of steel and 4 wheels and roll cage, but fucking dirt bikes are just
I hear you.
They've never been my thing.
No, I haven't owned one for a few years. The last one I owned was when I was living over in Oz. And I'm real keen to get back into it. And as young fella gets older, we'll definitely get back there. But yeah, it doesn't take much to fuck up on them and end up in the hospital, bro. They can be pretty deadly, eh? But I've been riding them since I was whatever age, like 5 years old. Growing up north, it was just part of life. So I'll get back there one day, but it'll be taking it a lot easier when I do. Just cruise,
Yeah, my brother used to work with I used to live with a radiographer, and he reckons if you own a dirt bike, there's 115% chance you're going to break a bone. Because for everybody
Yeah.
out there that manages to get through their whole life without breaking a bone, there's plenty of people out there that have broken a dozen. So yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. So I mean, obviously I sort of want to, with these episodes, try and sort of tell a bit of your story too, like, so I was going to say, like, what was your upbringing like, your childhood, in your eyes?
Oh, I mean, I actually came from a reasonable, I would say, what would you call them, upper middle class white family with the old boy worked at the mill, old lady the school teacher, both hardworking people. The old man loved his liquor, as I lagged out a bit there. The old man loves a drink. Was hard for me personally growing up in a very, let's call it a multicultural town, but one of the smallest cultures was white people. We weren't a majority in the town, and I was I've always been a big boy, and I've always been a fucking smart ass, and I've always been really I'm quite sharp and witty and really well, like school was never a problem for me. So I used to cop quite a lot of bullying and stuff like that through school. It was pretty hard, but well, other than that, cruising around the streets of Tokoroa, stealing from the warehouse with my mates on our push bikes and going down the river and catching trout and, $5 for a shared feed of fish and chips. And then we'd all chip in $1 each, the old $1 or $2 we'd got off mum. And, just you'd be the same. I'd ride the push bike round to the bros and stand at the gate and yell his name till he comes out, or big long list of landline numbers that you've got, I'll ring the bro and see, and you'd have to go through them, like find out where all the boys were, because they'd always be at someone's house. And then, so that would have been, I'd say, my childhood, intermediate school and stuff, and then high school things sort of just carried on as they were. But like being a big boy, and like at some point in your life you got to stop being bullied, sort of thing. And unfortunately sometimes that puts you at the other side of being bullied, and which is weird that humans do this. We stop getting bullied and start being bullies, but pretty well on top of it now. And then
Pretty well on top of it.
shit.
Yeah, that's good.
Then I met I'd say then I met marijuana at about 12.
12.
Me and the boys. Yeah, it wouldn't have been like, so between 12 and 14 there probably would have been 20 sessions, but then from 14 onwards, me and Mary Jane have been fucking good friends.
Sounds like your childhood was very similar to, that era. It's very similar to mine in the far north, and then moving to Whangarei around that similar time period. I was telling my wife, she grew up on the Gold Coast, similar sort of childhood, pretty, parents were poor as and that, but and I was telling her, I was like, yeah, we were on the piss at 12, we were smoking weed at 12, like, we'd all gather around. And then she never believed me. And then one of the boys randomly, one of their parents found an old, like, printed photo of us all sitting around the table, and there's all beers and shit on it. And it's legit children, bro. Like, you look at the photo, you're like, those are children, like, on the piss. Like, it must have just been that generation, our generation, that like say, like, we didn't have technology, we didn't have phones and shit, so we were just like cruising, like, we just skated around, same shit.
Well,
like at that age.
Our parents have never heard about generational trauma, and they can't even normally begin to get their heads around it. Like, they don't understand. They don't, and I don't expect them to these days. I've given up expecting to. Like, my father's a good man, but he's never ever said I love you to me. Not once. Not as fuck. I'm 34 years old. He's done lots for me in my life, and fucking, he's always been there when I've needed help, and through our whole childhood, you know, he always provided for us. But they're just that same. These men were raised by men that fought in world wars, and they don't. They can't. And so it's all about us just working through breaking those generational traumas, but that's where it comes from. Like, they're on the piss with their mates on fucking Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Like, my old boy, big parties at home. You know, like, you see those memes and cunts are like, or those the reels and people are like, oh, you know, that Awatea Henry just did one recently. It's like the old trying to go to sleep in the 90s and you think the party's finished and then red wine. And you're like, fuck. Roll over and another song. It's 3:45 a.m. and there's you and everyone else's kids all crammed into a lounge waiting to go home, waiting to get drunk, drove home by your parents, which is inevitably going to happen at some point. Well, my old man, anyway, if the old lady was there, she would have driven us. He doesn't really drink that much, never has, as far as we're aware. But, you know, the old boy was... I still remember when we were a kid, we were all kids. There was like 4 of us. The old boy had us. The old lady was still a couple days away from coming up north. We were on holiday. We'd been up to my Uncle Michael's. And him and my uncle and my other uncle drank like half a bottle of Kruger and smashed back 2 dozen of fucking Heinekens. And we got pulled up going out to Cuddy Fish, and the old boy blew a past. And it's like, and like literally, like one of our main jobs was opening beers for him with the old seatbelt. Like, well, I knew how to open a beer with a seatbelt when I was 7, and it wasn't for me to drink them. So, thinking back on it, not the greatest example to be setting, but no wonder we were all on the piss by the time we were 13.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And there was
and
no...
where do you think the weed came from? Where do you think the weed came from that we were smoking? One of the boys stole it out of one of his dads. Like, my mate, I won't name him because just in case, you know, his old boy would probably be pretty embarrassed these days about this fact, but his old boy used to have the old black rubbish bags, bro, like 4 or 5, 6 of them every year. Fuck this chocolate with ganja, bro. God knows how much he had everywhere else, but just in the garage in black rubbish sacks full of manicured weed. And he'd go grab a handful, sell it to the older kids for $10, big handful of dope, thinking back then, obviously those older kids would have been like, oh yeah, boy, we were just naive there. Big handful of weed for $10, go get some lollies and some fish and chips. Beauty.
Yeah,
But,
bro. I
think that's a big part of why we all are.
Yeah, definitely. It's so funny, like the comparisons of that era, like anyone around our age, you know, like we all had a similar upbringing, you know, like the same shit. Like, you know, my mum and dad used to drive to the pub and all the kids would wait in the car and you'd look over, you know, all the kids, local kids would be waiting in the car while mum and dad went in and got on the piss and then fucking drove whatever it was, an hour home, back up into the bush where we lived, you know, like pissed as. It was just normal, like you say, like all that shit. You look back on it and you're like, fuck, there's so much to unpack. So, I don't know, it's the same with like the weed thing, you know, where I grew up there in Hokianga. Weed's like the second currency, you know. It's just always been that way up there, around there. And yeah, I mean, my old man, he still blazes pretty hard to this day, but similar stories, you know, they used to all grow it up in the bush and get, like, I'll never forget this memory, bro. They used to have a phone, like landlines, you know, and obviously, if the chopper, the police chopper, you know, they used to come up the valley because it's all just thick bush. It's just a bush covered valley, and all the dads or all the people would have their patches up in the bush, you know, where they grow weed. So you'd get everyone ringing up the valley up the phone, and we lived right at the very top. Saying, "Oh, the chopper's coming! The chopper's coming!" They'd all run off into the bush and try and hide all their weed up in the bush. And I'll never forget. I was like, I don't even know how old I was, but it's a pretty vivid memory. and we're outside and it's all chaos and shit. Like, oh, fuck, and like it's all happening. And we were like, me and my sister, who's 2 years older than me, we're like, what's going on? Like, what the hell? Dad goes running off up into the bush, and my brother was out there with his little. He's how old would he be? I don't know how much older he is than me, 10, 15 years or something. He's out there with a little air rifle, and he's like shooting at the helicopter with it and all this shit, like just chaos, bro. And then we're waiting there, and out of the bush comes the dad coming back, and all the police pulling up at our house, fucking arresting him and taking him away. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like you look back on that shit, and it's just same thing. It was just, I don't know. It just seems like everyone's upbringing is from that.
But like, but back then that wasn't major. That was like commonplace sort of thing. So, so yeah, I'm not gonna blame my parents for any form of my misdemeanors in my lifetime. Pretty much 98% of them were driven by choices I made at some point or another. But
yeah, you can't blame them at all.
It definitely doesn't help. Definitely doesn't help when that's the culture that you're fucking raised in, right? And because you go to your mate's house, they're doing the same thing. Well, their parents are.
Yep.
You know, when you're 12 years old and you're just starting to smoke weed or whatever, it's not like it was hard to find.
Nah. It's like, but even like the liquor thing, you know, like I mean, our little skate crew in Whangarei, we were all of like I said, 12, 13. We'd all chip in our little pocket money every week to count up to whatever, $10 or something. You could get a bottle of vodka for $10, and we'd just go hang outside the liquor shop. And one of the, you know,
2 bottles of Christoph for $16.
Yeah, exactly. And just be like, hey, can you get this for us or whatever? And people would just be like, yeah. It's like full-blown children just asking you to buy alcohol, and they're just like, yeah, all good. It's like, the fuck? It's just, I don't know. It just seems crazy. And then we'd be off to parties and shit, you know, just like zero supervision. Fuck, just come home every like 3 days. My old man would be like, all good? Like, yep, sweet.
Yeah.
Now I don't let my children out of my sight.
My old lady was pretty firm on home before the old street lights turned out, though. Like, until we got a bit older, I'm the youngest, so by the time I was starting to be a fuckwit, they were done. Like, you know, like they'd. Admittedly, I am also very, very heavily the black sheep of my family. Like the oldest is my older brother. He's doing really well for himself. Like, he designs computer systems that run oil rigs. He's been to WA and made all his money, and he's doing all right, you know. My older sister was the Ducks of our high school, and my middle sister was sort of the sister that's just older than me. I guess you could say it started off rocky with a baby on the way at 18, but now she's 1987, so she's 3 years older than me anyway. I don't know, you do the maths, it'd be 34. She's 38, I think, this year, coming in July. And she's like, her oldest son's now 18. Yeah, he's 18. Oh no, she must be working back from that, 37 this year, because he's 18. And her youngest is 13. And like that, her and her husband have got a nice house in Te Aomotu, and they're doing really well and for themselves, and she's got a job with the Ministry of Education. And then there's just me, who sort of ran through high school, did that one, and I used to milk every day. I used to ride my push bike. By the time I hit 5th form, you know, we were smoking ganja. We were into it. And I used to ride my push bike every day to this. I was relief milking on a dairy farm, but it was like permanent relief milking, 7 days a week. I used to do 2 weeks and then get the weekend off, then 2 weeks and get the weekend off. And I'd ride my push bike there. I'd get up at 4 o'clock, ride my push bike to milk, then ride to school, shower in the gym, then school, and then ride back to that same dairy farm, milk in the afternoon, then ride home, do whatever training I had to do for whatever sport I was doing at the time, because I played cricket, hockey and touch in the winter, and then cricket and squash in the summer. And yeah, I was on a good earn. I was getting like $400 in the hand for a while. I ended up with like $4,000 in my savings, and then me and the bro went and bought our first outs. You know, we needed to make better money than that. You know, we were fucking
Great
we were
investment.
yeah. And I bought a car. You know, so fuck, because I just got my license. I just hit that 15. Got my learners on my 15th birthday. Restricted
So did I,
exactly
bro.
6 months after that.
I did the same
Restricted
thing.
exactly 6 months after that, and then we were on. As soon as I got there restricted, I bought this little 1986 Corolla off my sister, and wow, the places we took that thing, we just would be in every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That was back in the days. Obviously you wouldn't have spent much time around the centre of the North Island, but anybody that's listening to this that does, like Sulphur Point and Mount Maunganui, Tarapa Straits and Hamilton, like every weekend there'd be a big car thing, you know. I don't know if they still do it these days. It looks like they're all fuckwits and shitty cars, but we used to have like, you'd pull up, bro, and there'd be like 30 or 40 old school roaders, and I'm talking shit that sells for 200K these days, and like people were just crew burnouts here and trips there, and fucking boys are on, and you know, scraps and sell this or do that or whatever, and it was a scene, it was a vibe, and you know, inevitably that led to I bought my first I had a KP60 Starlet. I don't know if you know what they are, but they're a little rear wheel drive Starlet with a 4K 4-speed manual. Fuck, I love that car. And we used to go and do the old diesel drops, burnouts, shit. Fuck, it was mean. And yeah, so we did that, and we'd been over to the Mount one night, and we got in a big altercation. And we'd bailed out and left, and I blew my diff halfway up the Climb-Eyes. And we got someone to come pick us up. Fuck, I went back the next day with my old man to grab it, and it had just been rolled. Everything was just gone. All the windows were smashed. Fucking. So me and the old boy got it going, towed it home, and I ended up selling it to one of the bros reasonably cheap. So that was the end of that car. But yeah, we it would have lasted. So then it was back to the trusty old Corolla that I still had.
Yeah. The similarities was one thing that trips me out about doing like podcasts, you know, the similarities and like the things that happen in people's lives that line up. So thing, like you were saying, like just about your license and shit. I got mine the same day, like the day I turned 15 as well. My sister had same thing, had a baby young. He's like 21 now or something. And, you know, all that shit, it just lines up. So funnily, I don't even know if it's a word. Just like when you compare like your early years and you like, all this shit's like so similar in your lives. It's such a trip out. Same thing. I inherited my sister's car. I don't know if I brought her off her, if I got given it. Same shit, you know, and all the same shit. Like I remember it was at Tirapa or whatever, going all the way down there from Whangarei as young fellas, you know, same thing, that similar scene, probably a few years before you maybe, doing it, and it was the same shit,
probably not. Probably not if you're only 3 years older than me. I dare say I was there young. We were there young, me and the boys, because a lot of our mates that we hung out with, like the crew I ran with when I was just coming into sixth form, most of them were 2 years out of high school working in lumber yards and doing other bum shit jobs around town, like and we were called we used to play social soccer. Do you remember the movie Green Street Hooligans?
Yeah.
So there used to be social soccer in Tokoroa on a Friday arvo. And so like we were called the Beer Bandits, and we used to all get together and we'd drink a dozen. This would have been when I was a little bit older, probably 16, 17. Yeah, I must have been almost 17 because the the mess came not long after that. We would, um, we would all sit down and drink a dozen while we watched Green Street Hooligans straight after. Well, they would all just be trickling in from work, and me and the bro Codge would have gone there from school to the old flat, and we'd drink a dozen while we watched Green Street Hooligans, and then we'd go play social soccer, bro. And it was fucking, we only got through 2 seasons as the Bear Bandits, and then we had to change our name because our team got banned, like, because it's fucking kids around and shit, like, you know, it wasn't really thinking that boys are slide tackling and shit because they're pissed and
Too rowdy.
yeah, basically that, like a big group of sort of rowdy as fuck motherfuckers turning up ready to play because they've just been juiced up on Green Street Hooligans and a whole dozen of piss.
Yeah, I could imagine it.
And so yeah, we were hanging out with a lot older people. Well, me and Cody were sort of basically hanging out with people my older sister's generation, which is 3-4 years older than us mostly. And I still keep in contact with a lot of those fellas. Pretty much all of them, yeah, the original Bear Bandits crew, those of them that haven't passed away and stuff like that. We used to have this table. My mate Bles still got it. And it had, it was like a Monopoly. Like you imagine Monopoly all the way around the table. It had individual squares. They were all exactly the same size. But every square was a drinking game. So like roll the dice, shot, skull, into the cup. Whoever was last had to drink the cup in the middle, and like it was, there's only like, and so on that table still to this day, so they poker worked in the original members of the team, and their I can't remember exactly what details there are, but there's name, age, and like length of like part of the team, and then there's like a couple there's a couple of rest in pieces on there and shit now, and yeah, so we used to, I don't think nobody ever made 3 rounds of the table, and those that got to the end of 2 and managed to be there for the 3rd round would just, they weren't making it, you know, wasn't happening.
Do you ever look back on those years, like those teenage years, and you're like, how the fuck did we survive that shit? We used to do so much dumb shit.
Well, especially living in a place with frost. Like, I remember waking up, I don't know, like, this is a hazy memory. I won't say I clearly remember it, but I was like, it's cold in Tokoroa. Like, we get -5s and shit in the middle of winter. And I remember just being like waking up one night. Like, obviously, I've always dressed reasonably. I guess you'd call it rugged. These days, it's called fashion. But like big oil skins and big Stony Creek. I don't know if Stony Creek were a thing, but swannies and stuff like that. And I just remember waking up one, like it must have been about 3 a.m. sort of thing. And it was after a couple rounds of the table. And I was half covered in frost, like asleep on the back lawn. I must have gone out for a piss. Like the old codger was still, I mean, there wasn't much of it to be in such cold conditions, but it was still outside of where it should have been. And I was just, oh, fuck. And I stood up, and I remember standing up, and I was, what the fuck's that all over my arm? And I like wiped it off, and it was just like lumps of ice falling off my arm from the condensation, obviously, the steam coming off me, sleeping in such a cold thing. And like you said, how the fuck did I survive that? Another couple hours on the ground, probably wouldn't have survived it. You know, body just would have gone into hypothermia and fucking.
Oh yeah, I did many similar things, like you say, just waking up in random places after just blacking out and shit. It's just fucking loose, man. Like, I don't know, but hey,
that's the worst day, waking up in a random house and not knowing how to find your way out, and you're walking around and you're like, busting for a person. I don't know which fucking door to go through because I don't even know whose house this is. Like,
and like these days, I'm not much of a drinker. Have a beer every now and again or whatever over summer. people are like, oh, why is that? It's like, fuck, probably because we did so much of it back then. If you started drinking at 12 years old, fuck, you probably would do, you know? It's just, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's insane.
I'd be lying if I say I don't love a beer, but I've just recently had a point in my life where I feel like yeah, I still enjoy a beer, but why, you know, like why are we? I'm really starting to get good insight into, well, you know, what's the fucking point? Like, yeah,
Mm.
right now I'm sitting here having a beer, obviously, but
I think it depends
that's
why
more
you're
just
drinking it. If you're drinking it because it's a hot day and it's refreshing, that's one thing. But if you're drinking it to fucking, you know, numb yourself, that's a different situation.
nah. Nah, for me, it's a bit of the Dutch courage because despite my massive platform and all the rest of these sort of things, like I think across my 3 platforms is like 120,000 fucking followers and subscribers and stuff like that, and that's quite a mind blowing number. But normally, I'm just looking at my camera. I'm only talking to my
Mm.
camera, you know. So I guess you'd say a couple of beers to ease the nerves, which I mean,
Liquid courage,
Dutch courage. I
Dutch
think
courage.
the old boy used to call it.
Yeah, I hear you, for sure. Do what you got to do, eh? So, well, I don't know. So do you do YouTube as well?
Yep. So YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I started just on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I was because I haven't bought meat for 12 years now. This will be the 13th year we're coming into now. Aside from fried chicken and bacon,
Shit, that's a good effort.
you know. Well, you just don't have to. There's no excuse for it in New Zealand. Like, there's anybody here. I have zero pity for people that are saying that they're hungry in New Zealand. Like, I lived in our biggest city for 18 months, and it was honestly, Auckland is one of the most bountiful, plentiful places out there. You've got venison, untapped numbers of venison out at Muriwai Forest. Admittedly, got to be a little bit willing to hang around the grey area to harvest them, unless you enter the ballot and stuff like that. But like you've got, there's wild pigs. Like Auckland's chocker with wild pigs. It's lots of goats, rabbits, hares. You've got scallops, crayfish, pawa, all the fish, squid. It's all there. The cockles, oysters, like everything you want to get, Auckland has it for you. When I lived there, I was probably one of the high-wise, probably the richest I've been. You know, like you can't deny the Chatham Islands compares, but there's no fucking deer here. There's deer in Auckland.
People don't know how lucky we are in New Zealand, eh? That's for sure.
There's just no excuse for being hungry. There's just zero excuse for being hungry in New Zealand, really.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of
You
your
can be
upbringing,
fussy.
can deter that too. You know, like I said, growing up where I did, the far north there, you know, up on the little farm thing in the bush, it was pretty. You had to be kind of self-sustaining, you know. Whereas a lot of people don't learn any of those skills growing up. They kind of just grow up in a city and think food comes from the shop. They don't get to ever live off the land, so they don't. It's generational, you know. They don't pass that forward to their kids, and so on and so on. It's but
Yeah,
sad.
I think I am. I often get often catch myself with some people. Like, for instance, today we're bringing home. So everyone here, crayfish on the Chatham Islands, you're not allowed to take crayfish in March or April. Like, whether you're recreational, commercial, there's no take on crayfish in those months. And so we've got to start season May. Everybody finishes. So in February, everybody's bringing their gear home. And today I was I'm not doing any work with My boss, he's in New Zealand for the next week, but all my friends and stuff in the little community that I've made are all bringing their gear home, because the little community I'm in, we've only got 25 of us or something in the whole community, and most of us are fishermen, and so they're all bringing their gear home, and I was helping unload gear today, and one of the other boys from Napier's got his brother in, and he had gone out to help him bring gear in, and I jumped down. I said, just tie a reef knot on it. And he looked at me a bit funny, and I was like, "Oh, do you know what a reef knot is?" And he's like, "Oh, nah, bro." I was like, "Oh, fuck, I'll show you. It's real easy. Jump down onto the boat, and left over right, right over left, pull it tight, and never come undone once tension goes on it. Speed as we good. For lifting the pots with the crane off the boat onto the wharf sort of thing. And that was just another reminder of, like, exactly what you said. Some people just don't have a clue. And I'm real bad at assuming people have clues.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense to you.
Makes perfect sense, because, like, you just, like you said, if you grew up in a city, completely different story. You go over to Australia, like I spent however many years over there on Gold Coast, and obviously the wife's from there, complete opposite, like you can fish over there, but there's no hunting and nothing. There is in certain places in Queensland. I think you can hunt there, and there's heaps of deer, but no one hunts them. Like, there's an abundance of shit, but they're just like, oh no, let's go to the shop. That's where the food comes from. Where it's like I see, growing up far north, growing up there at the time, we were like, fuck this. But when you look back on it, it's like, man, it was pretty epic for those reasons.
Yeah.
You learn all this shit from day dot, like, yeah. And the importance of us passing that shit down to our kids, I think, as well. Like, both of my kids they haven't shown huge interest in hunting yet. I did a lot of fishing with Aurora when she was young. Now she's 7.5, so she's sort of, into that girly stage. But Forrest has shown promise. But like I said to them, as you grow up, you got to learn this shit. If you don't want to do it once you know it, I don't really care. Once you're older, do whatever you want. But you need to learn this shit about hunting and gathering and fishing and everything when you're young for that reason. So you've got the skills later on if you do want to pursue it. Whereas, like, that doesn't happen in some families or some, city people, sadly.
Yeah, so I think with the old man give me the basics, but he's from that generation where they didn't take the kids.
Yeah.
Like, I did a lot of pig hunting with him and his mates and shit, but deer stalking and to be fair, like, deer stalking in the 90s and early 2000s was shit anyway. There's fuck all deer around. I tell you what, nowadays, deer everywhere. More deer than you can shake a stick at. Like, everywhere you go, except for the Chatham Islands, there's deer these days, and fuckloads of them. Like, because you've had every all the old Alisters and the old Larrys of the world that own those sheep and beef farms that have they like 35 years ago put a few breeding animals up the back, and they still don't let anybody shoot them. Now those poor cunts are like, oh, I've got no grass. Oh, the crops are all getting eaten, and but don't come and shoot any of my deer. But like, and it's just created this fucking big explosion of deer numbers, and I don't like talking about it too much because, I mean, even though they'll already know about it, like, Doc will just come with the green rain otherwise, but, like, it's fucking everywhere, bro. Like, crazy. Since I got bigger on my platform and have been invited out and about to have a look around parts of the North Island, and I've had plenty of invites to the South Island, but I haven't been able to take any of them up because of financial reasons, but there is very large deer numbers, like,
especially in the
central
North Island. Central North Island, where they've got an abundance of food as well. Down here, they don't have as much feed, obviously, like up where I am, obviously in the high tussock country. There's not as much food, but I've seen some of the things up around that central North Island where it's like green rolling hills, and they're just fucking abundance of them, But for that reason, I suppose they've got the food there, so they can, breed up to crazy numbers. It's
like the station that I go hunt on sometimes in Rarahi, or just south of Rarahi, or like between the Wanganui and Rarahi, is like, it's actually ridiculous. So a couple of days before I went there, a couple of weeks, before I went there, the chopper that paid to have the chopper put up, and it had killed 1,500 deer in 5 hours. And I went there, and we're driving around in the side by side, and I got there, and the fella told me that, and I was like, oh, fuck, like, this is going to be shit. Mobs of 50 deer just jumping over their dead mates to get to every corner you turn on, every fucking race, there's just big mobs of fallow and red deer just jumping over each other to get to the bush. And like, we shot this one flat, and I remember looking across after we shot the flat. I've shot 8 deer off this one flat, and then looked over in the thermal. This is at night time. Looked over in the old thermal, and I just remember, bear in mind, there's a big country there, maybe not as big as the South Island, but I reckon it would say, let's say it'd be 1 kilometre from the river to where the bush edge is, almost on the skyline of the paddock. And when I say paddock, I'm talking like a scrubby, Manukri, like sheep and beef station paddock. Mm-hmm. And there was a single file line of deer from the valley floor to the bush, all just walking up. And there was also arterials of deer coming in from the side and joining that single file line. So we're talking in total probably 2 kilometres long of deer nose to tail in one paddock, on one hill face, on one farm.
I'd say, yeah. Are those fallow deer or reds?
Mostly fallows in that Wanganui Central.
Yeah, fallow are like rats, man. They breed like rabbits, they breed like crazy. It's like the farm I hunt on here, just up the road here. Same thing. Like they have a hunting operation as well. So they have people hunt the bucks, male fallow, but yeah, the does are just it's just crawling with them, bro. You could go up there and shoot as many as you want every day, and you probably wouldn't even get the numbers. It's pretty nutty.
That's where the problem is, because they're twin prone too. If they're on good tuckers, so as soon as you start getting the numbers down, they'll just have there'll be a whole generation of twins, and the good thing about a fallow is they really like grass. So they're not really out there to destroy like the reds and the seeker and sambar and stuff like that. Well, they don't strip bark, and they don't
browse as much, eh?
No.
And the fallow deer taste a lot better too. Definitely the best eating species that we have, deer-wise, in my opinion.
I would have to agree with you in 99% of cases, but you can't go past a 2 or 3 year old velvet red.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're just getting so much more meat, and it's got, that inch of fat around the whole thing. And
yeah, we shot a couple. I don't even know when it was. Could look on my Instagram, but I took my mate up for his first deer. He's getting into hunting. Got a couple of velvety spikers. I think they were probably be just spikes. I think they didn't. I can't remember now whether they had how big their antlers were. It was probably about this time of the year, actually. No, it would have been like January. And yeah, just fat ass, big body, like good amount of meat, and they were really good eating from memory. So yeah, I definitely hear you on that one. Sucks there's no deer over on the islands, though, eh?
Yeah.
Was.
I'd like to introduce some, but I don't think I'd be the island's most favourite person if I introduced another person. But yeah, I can't. Yeah, I think my main reason for favouring the reds is I was raised in Tokoroa, and we didn't have fallows. I was raised eating reds. Didn't know what a fallow was till I moved to Auckland, to be fair.
It's better than Northland, mate. There's no bloody deer up there.
Oh,
there
is now. Like, you've got the ones in Russell.
Yeah,
and there's some So recently there's like a population that's appeared and just in behind Kaitaia of fellows. So they'll never get rid of those now that they're in there. They can try, but I don't think fellows, heavily hunted fellows, are actually fucking pretty hard to get. I reckon. I mean, I've shot hundreds and hundreds of them in densely populated areas, and it's easy. But heavily hunted fellows are quite hard to get.
Yeah, especially if there's some scrub around they can hide in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've taken a few people out hunting fallow around here, and they're like, oh fuck, nothing there, and I'm like, no, they're there, they're here, don't you worry. You wait a little while and then start popping out, and the real like sort of alpine scrubby shit. They just vanish into the scrub and then slowly start coming out again. It's like, they were there the whole time. You walk straight past them.
Yeah.
Cheeky.
Yeah. That's one thing about them. They'll hide too, Whereas the red sort of just runs.
So you obviously like cooking. I think we better talk about that, because some of the shit you make is pretty epic, bro. It's I was looking through when the bro Josh sent me your thing. I had a look. I was like, holy shit! There's some mean recipes on there on your Instagram. How did you sort of get started on that? Was it just like obviously you just love it, I assume?
Well, it all just comes from the whole not buying meat thing, right? So like, I don't know how many days, the longest days in a row you've had to eat venison. It's the only thing you've got. So they, like, basically it got to a point in my life where like a venison backstrap's good, but it's shit if it's the 10th day in a row and you're eating venison backstraps. It's like, so it doesn't have to be backstraps again, so. And same with crayfish. Like boiled crayfish is amazing. It's good, a bit of garlic butter and all the rest. But crayfish is reasonably shit in the grand term of things. And so you get, basically I started getting creative with what I was doing, and I was posting it on my messenger, like just my normal messenger stories, and everyone was saying, oh, you need to start a page, you need to fucking do it. And I'm going, not that fussed with it, because I'm reasonably computer illiterate, and and then I actually had old Steph the Māori over. I don't know if you follow him or whatever, but he come over for a feed because I followed him, and he was like, oh, if you give it a nudge, then I'll support you once you've done a bit of your own hard graft. And I'll just slowly but surely it's growing into this big platform. But the cooking, I mean, our family, food's a big thing in our family. We cook a sheep on the spit every Christmas. It's like a thing. Animals on the spit over the fire and all that sort of stuff. And my old man loves, like, we've always had really good. Being Dalmatian, it's always been very, I guess, it feels like Italian food, it's olive oil and tomato bases and mixed herbs and, a lot of that sort of stuff. So, I guess that, and my current partner, fiance Alana, she is a chef by trade. So, like, having her there in the last 5 years has helped with a lot of the, what would you call it? Like, like the basics. Like, I find whilst she's a chef, she's amazing. She can cook I think the chefs are trained to produce a reasonable quality meal in a fast time frame. As long as it doesn't leave a bad taste in the customer's mouth, all good. Just get it done as quick as you can. And I think a lot of her meals are amazing, but they just need that little bit more love, like turn the temperature down a little bit, let it cook for a little bit longer, or like do it. Yeah, I find but yeah, she basically comes in with and we just decide where it started for me was I was real broke. This is when me and the ex-wife split up, you know, and I'd go to the fucking cupboard and I'd be blazed as, right, I got this piece of meat, and I'd be holding the bit of meat in my hand, and I'd be staring at the cupboard like, fuck, we'll chuck a bit of that in and a bit of this, and I'll see where it goes, and then, oh, you know, that's a bit too, we'll try balance that out. And if it's rubbish, you know, feed it to the pig dogs and start again, because all the meat in the freezer's free.
Yeah,
It only costs me as much diesel and time. All you're counting is diesel and time. Everything else about the meat's free. I don't pay butchers. I do it all myself. So
yeah, I'm the same, bro. I process everything myself.
If it's shit, feed it to the dogs and start again. Fuck it.
Yeah. If there's one thing when it comes, like I have zero interest in cooking in general. I mean, I do it at home, obviously, but when it comes to shit that I've hunted or caught, you know, whether it's like fishing or hunting, I've got like a mean passion to prep it and like cook it. It's funny how that works, eh? Whereas outside of that, you know, I'll cook just to obviously feed the kids and the wife, but it always amazed me how that, like, the fact that you've hunted or gathered something yourself sort of gives you that drive to like make something out of it. You know?
You're not going to let the wife dry out your venison backstraps, are you, when you've fucking lugged the cunt halfway across the motu to get it home, and then you've processed it up. Like, she ain't cooking those back steaks. I don't know about you. My missus does a good job on the back steak too. But when I first met her, and like, yeah, she told me she was a chef, all the rest, you're still not touching the backstraps. Eh? Like, I'll cook those.
Yeah. Mine's actually better at cooking steak than me. I have to admit that.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, she always nails it, bro, and I always like slightly get distracted or fuck it up somehow. And she'll do it, and I'm like, oh, this is actually perfect. But it's funny because with
honestly, the old take the smoke alarms out of the house is the key to a good steak.
Yeah, that's it. Even with like venison backstrap, bro, like I eat it quite a lot. I mean, most of my diet is meat. I'm one of those people, I can just eat the same boring shit every day. Like back in the day when I was training multiple times a day, I'd literally just eat. I can eat the same fucking plainless thing day after day because I just go into the mode of like, it's just nutrition, you know. But yeah, I just literally salt and pepper on a veni steak in a bit of butter, really hot pan, you know, whatever, medium rare. Happy with that. Pretty simple, but does the job.
Oh, it certainly does. It certainly does. But what about when you like pair it with a little bit of a red wine sauce, or like one thing that I reckon really pops off is venison back steak with a cream power as like a surf and turf, like a.
No powers near where I live, bro. Not in the mountains. Sadly. Yeah, then that's when I was looking at some of the content you make, because, you know, like you keep it pretty authentic and simple, which is what I think makes it special, you know, just like, yeah, do this, do that, chuck that in there, do that. I was watching it, I was like, fuck, I need to pull finger and start making some better shit, because I just like, yeah, I don't know. I definitely don't take advantage of the, you know, things like venison steak and stuff. I just sort of, whatever, get it cooked, fucking eat it, move on to the next.
But it is the thing with a fallow back steak is there's not really anywhere you can go with it. To be fair, the only thing I've ever done that's slightly upgraded one was like I rolled it. I sort of got my knife and just cut it about that thick, and then rolled it all up with like mushrooms and cheese and made like a big fucking venison herb melt. But I still personally, it was delicious. Don't get me wrong, but still not as good as just one that, because I cut them, if I'm cutting steaks, normally with a fallow one, I'll cut it into about 3 pieces and then sear those pieces and then slice that off.
Yeah.
You just can't beat just salting the shit out of it and then putting it on a bread rack overnight in the fridge and then just dropping that shit in a hot skillet and fucking.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm salivating because I don't get it anymore. That's
Yeah,
something
bro. When my old man recently, when was it? May, I think, last year. He moved from Northland. He was still in Whangarei. He moved down to Geraldine. It's about 3 hours north of where I am, in Canterbury. And for his, we went up there and sort of for his housewarming. I took him up a big box of Spates, prior to the South. Now that he was a South Islander, and a big chili bin full of. I just cleaned the freezer out, bro. There was like tar. There was diced tar in there. There was fucking heaps of fallow steak and mince and red pastry, like, just everything, wild pork, just all the shit that. And I just took him up that. I was like, there you go, fill the freezer up. He texted me about 3 days later. He's like, mate, that venison steak's the best steak I've ever eaten. Like that. I was like, oh, you're in the main island now, bro.
Yeah.
And that's the shit. As a hunter and a fisherman, like that's the shit that I froth on, when I can like put stuff in other people's freezers, and then like, if they cook it, say, just send me a picture, or like, let me know how you went, and they just froth on it. Like same with like the gardening, like our garden out here, we just give stuff away, and like it's just the best. Other than eating it myself, it's the best part, being able to like hook other people up and see how much they love it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually the community gardener here in our little community here in Tokoroa. I just turned up, and there's a school-driven initiative, a government-driven initiative that small rural schools can apply for, like a big grant. And so I turned up, and there was these 2 big greenhouses. I applied for the job, got the job. Obviously, there's only 20 people, so I wasn't really interviewing against anyone else, but got the job, and I turned up, and there's these 2 big 10-meter long greenhouses in the middle of a paddock with grass up to your fucking tits. Oh, okay, sweet as, but there was a big pile of posts and a whole lot of shade cloth, and like all of the infrastructure was there. It just needed to be installed, and now I've got since September, I've got a 30 by 25 meter compound, 1800 high, shade clothed out, 2 greenhouses. That, like, the greenhouses are inside it. I've got like it'd be 20 meters by 20 meters spud patch. I've got 40 pumpkin plants going. Because I'm supplying our whole community with vegetables, and we've got enough surplus to go to the main community, and they can buy the surplus for a gold coin donation per item, and that's all going back in. I want to get a little Temu tractor, like a little tractor. I mean, I'll look fucking ridiculous driving it, I'd say, but it'd be better than, like, right now I've just got a little rotary hoe that I walk along behind, and it works good, but it ain't turning over a whole paddock. I mean, I would turn over the whole paddock, but it would take me a long time. So, I'm sort of in the process of slowly fundraising for this little Temu tractor, so I can fucking do my little jobs in my little paddock and
can up your production.
Yeah, and it's really one thing for me that's really cool about it. There's something that even if I left this island right now, I have set that garden up, and that garden will stay there for the. I mean, I've built it tough, so as long as no one goes down there with a chainsaw and a set of side cutters, that'll be there for another 80 odd years. Like that's.
Yeah. Far out, left your mark.
Yeah, I've come here. I've left a little mark on the island, and I love gardening, and the section I'm on is tiny. There's no room for a garden, so for me it was like a win-win-win-win-win. I get a giant garden. Somebody else pays for the seed. Somebody else pays for the fertilizer. I get to supply all these people in the community with vegetables. I'm supplying the island with cheap vegetables. I'm solidifying my view with a lot of the elders around the place. Like it's there's
sounds like a rad
benefits on multiple levels. Yeah,
sounds like a cool little community you got there.
Yeah, no, it is, bro. There's like the school that my son will be going to when he gets here. There's like 9 kids, 1 teacher, but it's like flash as, way flashier than anything like a flash little school, and
Yeah.
they got greenhouses and a tennis court and 8 kids for one teacher, you know, like those. Whilst there are benefits to bigger classrooms, there's definitely benefits to these little classrooms for the kids, and
Yeah.
there's only most of the people here are like my age. Like there's like 7 or 8 of us here that are all our age, you know, late 80s, early 90s kids, and we've got a sports, and it's called the Kaingaroa Sports and Social Club. So we're like, because we're 60 kilometres on a gravel road out of the main township, which is and that's where the only shop is on the island and stuff like that. But we've got our little club, and it's you can get a beer there, and you can get a basic there's like bread and butter and stuff like that in the freezer, and the cool thing about it is this community owns that club, and we just had our AGM the other day, and like it's all very open, and the club's in profit, and it's one of the things I really love about this island is it feels like, honestly, it's like growing up and then like being in the 90s. It's like what it's like here. Whilst there is still meth here, and very small amounts of crime. It's not really in your face because there's only 600 people, so the 50 or 60 odd that are on the gear are just keeping to themselves, and you know, more worried about getting.
How does it get?
Oh, coming on the plane, I'd say.
Oh, people just bring it over, and it's amazing. Yeah, you can't escape that shit, man. Even 800 k's out in the ocean.
Oh well, it's easy as so like our carry on doesn't get checked on the way in. We have to go through. It's domestic. There's no thing like that. You just, to be fair, I mean, thinking back to darker days, like an ounce of gear is like a fucking a filter bag, like a whole ounce of this shit, you know.
Yeah.
You can't have that in your left pocket. They're coming. We freight in all of our groceries coming through freight. All you got to do is have someone in New Zealand, open the bag of coffee, put my bag in the bag of coffee, seal it back up.
Yeah.
The old coffee comes over on the Tuesday on the plane, and
It's fucked, eh? It's fucking.
Oh, it is, but you know, as long as they're not stealing off other people, whatever, you know, you want to smoke gear, go hard. Just do.
Everyone makes their own decisions.
Don't. Oh, well, I mean, I can't. I'm not going to be one of those ex-addicts that stands there and goes, "You're a fucking loser because you're on drugs." Because fucking, you know. What sort of person does that make me? People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Fucking
Yeah.
You know, we've all 17 through to like 27, 28. We're talking 10 years of smoking gear for me. So who the fuck am I to judge on what other people are up to?
Well, that's it. All you can do is speak on your experience and try and help other people to get away from it, I suppose, eh? At that stage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and at the end of the day, with any form of addiction, there's actually no point in trying to tell other people to get off it, because the only person that can ever tell you to get off any form of addiction is you. If that makes any sense to you.
Makes perfect sense.
You'll never care. Nobody else. You'll never care about anybody else enough. Oh, so sorry. Sometimes other people are your reason for making that decision. But nobody else can make that decision for you. Doesn't matter what the addiction is, whether it be ciggies, alcohol, fucking meth. I wouldn't go anywhere near opiates because I think shit boring buzz. But like, you fucking, even opiates, like the only person that's going to stop you doing those things is you. One day you're going to wake up, you're going to look yourself in the mirror and you might, right, I'm just a fucking loser. I'm sick of this shit. It's time.
Yeah,
it changed, and there might be a couple of slip-ups. Like, fuck, there's been slip-ups for me, that's for sure, but it's about how you recover from them. It's whether you dive straight back into that shithole lifestyle, or do you then, move forward and become a better version of yourself to be better for your family and all the rest. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, bro, definitely. I only had, from my experience, like I had a small period of time when I was young, when I moved over to Australia, that I was sort of, going down that path, but I sort of self-corrected pretty fast, I sort of, like you said, got to that point even at that age where I was like, what the fuck, what am I up to? But yeah, I was young and just living that life, but I definitely self-corrected. But yeah, I know plenty of people that have been dragged deep down that hole, bro, and it's bloody hard to get out of. But if you can get out of it and, like you say, be a better version of yourself, once you get away from it, then yeah, it's a pretty hard but powerful thing to accomplish, I reckon. Cause,
and like I get, you see on the old recovery stories and all this other sort of shit, and people like, oh, if I could just go back and make that one decision to just not grab the pipe, fucking, my life would be so much different. Fuck, I had so much fun when I was on drugs, bro. I think, like, for my life experiences, bro, like, I never, I ripped off people I love and shit like that, but I never, like, fuck, it was just, if I had to go back all and do it again, I'd probably do it the same way, but to be fair.
yeah,
Like, I've experienced more. I'm only 34, whatever, but I've had more fun and fucking, I've got more yarns to tell than fucking people can even, like, there'll be 70-year-olds out there that haven't experienced a quarter of what I've fucking seen in this world. And it's made me wise. I wouldn't say wise yet, because again, I'm only 34, but it's, fuck, I had some fun, bro.
Yeah.
I had some fun.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, like, oh, hey, kids, go out there and smoke some meth and be a fuckwit, because that doesn't, just because I had fun doesn't mean it was cool or whether it was socially acceptable, but fuck, it was fun, We were just a big group of us, and it didn't seem to matter where I went in the country, Taranaki, Tokoroa, far north, Auckland, I'd fall into the same circle of the same bunch of people with the same upbringing, with the same ideals, with the same sense of loyalty to each other and shit like that, like the fucking, I'd never, if I had to go back and do it all again, I think I'd run it pretty similar.
Yeah, sounds like you don't,
because
you've
it's
got no
given me,
regrets, which I think is a good thing.
what's the point of having regrets? I do have several regrets, just in ways of how I treated a few people that are really close to me, stuff like that. But I mean, if you look at it on a greater picture, without singling out, let's say, over 10 years, 15 shitty things, which is an average of 1.5 shitty things a year, I reckon, for all the fucking, like, bro, we used to saddle up fucking 3, 4, like I said, I was saying, the old Sulphur Point, there'd be, 10 or 20 cars that these days are worth 150, 200 grand sort of thing. We'd saddle up 5 or 6 of those cars and a whole lot of gear, and we'd fucking cruise from fucking Tokoroa to the far north over to fucking Tauranga and home over 3 or 4 days, no sleep, but just cruising around, like, visiting this guy that this one of us knows in this part of the fucking, smoke some gear there and shoot off over there and sell some to this fella, and and it was all fucking, it was all fun and games, bro. Like,
I hear you.
Let's not say there wasn't, again, like, there was fuck ups and there was also very dark. I'm not trying to glorify drug abuse or the meth scene, because again, saying things like that, I've seen some fucking dark ass shit go down too. But they don't even, that dark shit doesn't come into the fuck ups list for me. because I don't really, I hold little respect for self-made fuck-ups. So like if other people have landed themselves in situations where they end up quite severely hurt, it ain't my fault. You know, fuck them sort of thing has always been my mentality on it. And I have been smart enough to keep myself out of those situations 90% of the time and strong enough to fight my way out of them the other 10%. So it's not...
like we were saying earlier, some of that shit from when you're young, you're like, fuck, man, I'm lucky to have survived that era.
Oh, and like, senses. What were you doing in the rooms with those people? You know?
Yeah, it's pretty like.
Bad
for me as a teenager, I pee and meth and stuff wasn't really around when I was at that age. I mean, it was around, but I wasn't around it, we were smoking plenty of weed and doing all the same shit you were doing, just not with that substance in particular. But yeah, fuck, when I went to Australia, bro, at 18, it was on. I mean, not just one particular mind-altering substance, but you could imagine, taking an 18-year-old from New Zealand, chucking him in straight into
trips and ease and fucking all that sort of shit.
Straight into the Brisbane nightlife, and you're earning like 3 times what you were back here. So you just got money to fucking burn. So yeah, it was, I mean, most of my time over there, like most of my 20s, like not so much my late 20s, but until I met my wife when I was about 25, fuck, dude, like I look back on some of those times and like you say, you look back and you'd be like, what the fuck was I thinking? But then you also look back and be like, fuck, that was a good time. Like we lived it up and it was fucking awesome. And like you say, I wouldn't, like you say, there's a few things that I'd change, but ultimately it's like, I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't have done all that shit, Right,
and you wouldn't have the appreciation for other people that are doing it tough either. Like I think you get a lot of these hard-nosed people that have lived quite a sheltered life that are really quite rude and disrespectful to people that are struggling with addiction, and they because they've like, they might smoke a vape or they might have had a couple of stiggies or whatever, and given up when they were whatever, but they don't have they've never seen or experienced or lived amongst the real struggles and the real
they've probably never been what I may.
Oh, they've not only that, but they've also never seen the people at the top of the game either. Whether they've never been to rock bottom, they've only just bought an ecstasy off their friend of a friend of a friend and had a couple lines, like they've never seen the old pill press going round and round and round, spitting out fucking thousands and thousands of dollars worth over a period of an hour or two. They've never seen that, and not only that, but just they've also never seen that with a bunch of their friends just sitting around drinking and laughing about it like it's fucking hilarious,
Yeah.
Whereas it's not hilarious, but like I said, I wouldn't go back and undo it. I don't know. Yeah,
you wouldn't be who you are without the lived experience. That's always my thing. Like I said, looking back on my time over there and in my 20s, there's certain things where I'm like, fuck, wish I had done this or hadn't done that. But then ultimately, the experience that I had is what molded me into me, sort of thing. So, because you don't really know who you really are until you're like fucking 30, I reckon. Before that, you're just like you're trying to figure it out. It's like saying to my nephew, who's one I was talking about, who's 21, he's over in Thailand. I'm like, dude, just go and travel, figure out who the fuck you are, dude. Because sitting here, just working and they're having a mundane life, you're never going to find out what you're all about, or whatever it is. You just need that life experience, go and fucking, like you say, go overseas and do some mind altering shit.
Overseas. I'd love to go. I haven't actually travelled much, but it's one thing that I do regret, but I think I will when I'm older. It's on the list of things to do, and I think I'll go be the fat old man that sits on the beach and pervs at all the girls in their G-strings behind the old shaded glasses while my missus yells at me for looking that way or whatever, like that's sort of where I think my travel experiences are going to be. I don't think I'll get to do the old Bali nightclubs and shit like that, but I'm just not that in. Like, we were sneaking into nightclubs at 16 and shit. So, fuck, do I need to go to a nightclub before I've done that? Yeah. I used to use my brother's ID, and me and him look nothing alike, and he's 6 years older than me. So I was like 16, running a fucking 22-year-old's ID and just, yep, you're in. They didn't even look at it. They just looked at the fucking date of birth and you're in. Because you're a male and you're here to spend money. So fucking get in there and spend the shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was no different up in Whangarei. It was the same shit. As long as he looked kind of similar, they're like, yeah, you're all good. Fucking.
Well, they'll push you on the dates, and because he's my older brother, I know all the dates,
Yeah.
Oh, what's your birthday? 4th of May, 1980s. He's 84, yeah. 4th of May, 84.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to someone the other day about like generational shit, like the way we grew up doing all that stuff. And then like my kids, like you're saying, like the old man not saying he loves you and shit. And then I tell my kids I love them multiple times a day. Because same thing, like, because we didn't hear it as kids. So now we correcting all the shit that we didn't have, or all the stuff that didn't happen with us. Now we're doing that. So I'm like, man, when they're teenagers, what's it going to be like? Because I'm already like, fuck, you're not doing the shit I did. I'll be right there next with you doing it, so I can keep an eye on you. I'm going to be the opposite to what we had. So just, I don't know, it trips me out.
Yeah. And I'm very, I'm worried about what the world is going to look like when our kids are teenagers, because my oldest boy's 8, the youngest is just been born. He's about 9 months old now, and the world is changing, and not for the better as far as I'm concerned. With all of this, with all of this fucking gender diversity speech and stuff like that, it's all just a bit too much for me to get my head around, and I don't think it's for the benefit of society, nor do I think it's for the benefit of our next generation. But I'm just going to do my best to make sure that my kids love them, and that I go by a firm but fair parenting mentality, whereas I would say my old man was very firm and kind of fair.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And I just want them to know that it doesn't matter how deep of shit they're in, that I should be the person they call. Don't call one of the bros, call me. Because there's nothing you kids at the age of 14 could say or do that your old boy hasn't seen or done before.
Yeah.
And let's not get into specifics, kids, because I don't really want to tell you.
But
just know that there is nothing at all that you can ring me and you won't surprise me. I will not be shocked.
Just say, trust
know. And I won't be shocked. We're all good, Ring me up.
Yeah.
Look, as long as the first thing you say is, I've had a big fuck up, then I'll know to take your speakerphone so your mother can't hear.
Yeah.
And then we'll fucking sort the rest out from there,
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun, interesting game to play, the old parenting one, eh? Man, it's an adventure.
Oh,
that's for sure.
It's scary. I'm just going to duck off. I need to hit the lavatory.
Oh, you're all good, bro. I'll pause it. What do you want to wrap it up? Oh, he's gone. He's had a few beers, so he's been talking, so he needs a wee. But while he's gone, I'll keep talking. And what we were talking about, like parenting, and that thing trips me out, how all the generational stuff that you experience over your like childhood, you like correct once you're a parent. Like all the things I'm doing now as a parent, I find, is all the shit that either didn't happen for me as a kid or the things I didn't have. And the wife's the same. All the things that she didn't have, we now make sure our kids have all that. So it does I don't know, that saying, that hard men make soft times, soft times make soft men, and all that, whatever that saying is, kind of makes sense when you look at how each generation corrects things and the path that they go down and how the way they raise their kids, who then raise the next generation who are a bit softer, so on and so on. So, yeah, it trips me out. It's just this type of shit I think about on a regular basis. It's back.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're all good, bro. I was just rambling on to myself about random generational shit. So when's your missus and kid and that moving over to the island?
Oh, so my stepson Hooper, who I've been with Alana since he was 6 months old, calls me dad and shit. He's basically, I don't even know why she's a stepson, but he's got a genetic condition called Hirschman's disease, and that basically, to cut a long story real short, his butthole doesn't tell his brain when it's time to go for a shit. So
Gotcha.
he had the surgery correct the nerve endings and stuff like that, and he's been on what's called a stoma bag, which is pardon me, a stoma bag. So he's 5 years old now. They've done all the processes. Today was supposed to be his last fucking surgery, and then he was supposed to come over, after recovery, they were supposed to come over. We've rented our house out in Waitara and stuff. He went into the surgery, and the last step wasn't done properly, and they basically haven't dilated his sphincter to the right diameter to fucking make the reattachment. And so now, for 6 weeks, my fiance is going to have to manually stretch that, which is exactly as fucking disgusting as it sounds. But they're coming back next week for 6 more weeks to do all that, and she'll need my support through all that because it's it's going to be a fucking hell of a time for the poor kid. He's 5 years old. He's never going to forget it. But
yeah, I was just going to say, man, I feel bad for that young fella.
And he's been really good. We're 2 years deep of surgeries and all these other hard fucking times, and now just to be hit with this right at the end. So he was supposed to be waking up today with no stoma bag, and he fucking woke up to this bullshit. And he's over. They'll be back early next week for 6 weeks, and they'll have to go back for this fucking surgery again. Hopefully for the proper final surgery, and then they'll be back here permanently for things. So
Far out.
yeah,
To deal with, eh?
yeah.
Poor guy.
It's been a long journey, and it's really sad for Hooper. But he doesn't let anything get him down. He's all go. I haven't taken him hunting because of the bag. But when he was over here over Christmas, I took him out and he got his first pig and stuff like that. And
nice.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
no,
I was going to say, I'm sure
but
you'll raise him to be a strong, competent young fella, eh? So he gets through all that stuff and put it in the past, especially if he grows up over there.
yeah, I just hope it. I mean, fuck. You look at how twisted some of these survivors of sexual abuse are, and now we're staring down the barrel of having to fucking do that to one of our kids, and it's not even abuse, it's for fucking medical reasons, and it's like, I actually discussed with the missus today. I said, well, why don't we just leave him on the bag till he's 15 or 16 and he can understand what needs to be done and what else, but then that takes away all these other opportunities from him. He can't dive, he can't fucking realistically, he can't hunt the gorse, he can't yeah,
That's a fucking rough situation
really,
you've got to deal with.
it is. But everyone has their trials and tribulations. It's about how we get through them that it matters, and all I can do is do my best to support the young fella through it. Like I said to the missus, I said I can't have any part of any of that. I'm his fucking stepdad, and I don't want it coming out in fucking 13 years that he feels like I fucking abused him or anything like that.
Best thing you can do is talk to him, eh?
Yeah, just try keep him. Honestly, I think he's such a big personality that I don't know if this will affect too much. He'll just in a year or two's time, I mean, it's going to be fucking hard for this next few weeks, but
What do you do?
we'll,
There's no other option. You got to do what you got to do. You look back on it.
I said to the missus, like, can't they put him to sleep every day and fucking, like, so he has zero memory of it for the whole fucking thing, but unfortunately, no. So that's all something we're going to have to deal with as a team. But yeah,
I feel for you, bro. That's rough. Dealing with unhealthy kids and stuff is no fun, and you've got to be fucking strong to get through it. But I have no doubt you will, and like I said, raise him to be a strong, confident young man. So let's get off that subject because it's obviously a bit fucking rough. So with your YouTube and stuff, I think we should probably wrap this up soon. What are we at? 7. Oh, yeah. Oh, it says there. In almost 2 hours. Thinking we'd just have a quick chat about your stuff. If anyone listening wants to go and something a bit more lighthearted after that last subject.
That's
check you out.
Sorry,
and follow along.
You can edit that out if you want, because fucking
Nah, bro, I'm not about it
today, and I haven't even really had a chance to talk to anyone about it. So it's sort of just
fine. You can talk to me, dude. That's what it's all about. That's what we're here for. I don't edit stuff.
Yeah.
Not if I don't have to. It's I don't know. It's just a rough situation, bro, and I can tell it's affecting you. And like I said, in that sort of situation, I couldn't imagine how I would handle stuff like that. But you'll just do your best, I suppose. That's all you can do.
Yeah. Yes. So circling back to where you were before. If anyone wants to find me, the platform's the same: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Can Cook Too.
Blokes Can Cook Too. How'd you come up with that? Because you were like, yeah, actually, we can do this shit too.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of where it was coming from. There's been heaps of other cool as names that have come up since then. People have made platforms, and I've been like, oh, why didn't I think of that? But when I was thinking of the name, that's just what I come up with. Yeah.
I like it.
Who's this?
To the point.
I'll have to. Yeah.
Still got me?
So, yeah. Ring me on Messenger, and I was wondering whether it was affecting the I'm meant to be going pig hunting shortly.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's wrap it up then, bro. Something just happened there too. Your audio changed. But hey, so anyone listening, if you're not following, Blokes Can Cook Too on all 3 platforms.
What just happened there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro. Pretty epic what Joel does. He puts together some pretty mean recipes. It's definitely inspirational. I've still got you, bro. Your headphones probably went flat.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Yeah, you're all good. I was just having a little rant about following your stuff and what you do. I think we've covered some pretty good topics today and a bit of your backstory. And what what you're up to now. Sounds like you're pretty committed to the Chatham Island life for a while.
Yeah. I mean, because there's no high school here, the missus doesn't want to send the kids to boarding school. So I think we'll get about 6 or 7 years out of the Chatham Islands before we have to go to the far north, and then the kids will go to Kaitaia College, which will be a buzz for them coming from the Chatham Islands, I'd say. But
bit of a different environment. I've got some fond memories of Kaitaia from my childhood. But yeah, that sounds like a good plan anyway. I think we should wrap this up. We're coming in on 2 hours. I think we've done pretty good. I appreciate the chat, bro. And obviously, it's not easy talking about some of this shit. So I always appreciate anybody who jumps on here and chats about all sorts of random life stuff. I think that's what it's all about, eh?
Yeah. I've tried not to ramble on as much as I can, but hopefully you get some good bloody content out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we always do. The idea is just having a chat, dude. Like, this is what it's all about. Chatting, random, everyday shit that people can relate to. The whole idea of even doing this podcast is just trying to help others get inspiration or whatever, get something out of it positive. That's why I think just having these conversations is so important.
Yeah, and I think there'll be a lot of like you say, anybody from our generation's got the same yarn. If they grew up in like rural or lower decile, mid to lower decile New Zealand in the late 80s, 90s, it'll all be the same shit. It'll all be relatable. Doesn't matter who I come across. You can say the same offhanded reference to a childhood thing, like you said, the sitting at the pub, or for us it was at the cricket club. Getting a toasty while waiting for the old boy to be finished, and it's all the same shit. We all lived the same path, and I hope anybody out there listening can relate or whatever. But it's been a bloody good yarn, bro.
It was a magic time back then. Things will never be like they were back then again, that's for sure. Not in the technology age that we live in now.
Well, this is the closest I can find is the Chatham Islands, and it's slowly disappearing too, because they got phones and internet and shit now.
Yeah, you're probably like 10, 15 years behind over there. All right, let's wrap this
Pretty
up.
much.
Any final words?
Final words? Nah, I think we've covered most of it, bro.
Just live your best life. That's what it's all about. All right, don't hang up on the session, okay? Thanks for listening, everybody. We both appreciate you a lot. Sure.